Welcome to Restomod, my BMW M5 presented by eBay Motors. Even though this thing looks like it's in pieces, we're gonna get it back together and fired up at the end of this episode. In the last episode, we left off by yanking out the gearbox, and we found a couple of weird things with it, but what we didn't show you was the clutch and flywheel, which we pulled off camera. And wow, I am glad I took this thing apart because look, I don't remember the last time I've seen a flywheel that's been burned up this badly. Look at that thing.
I think it's hammered.
It is hammered. The clutch itself isn't terrible. It's certainly very, very close to the end of its life. You can see it was getting close to these like rivets on this side. So all in all, a good choice to be done. We do still have a ton of work left in the engine bay, which we will get to in this episode as well, especially that valve cover. I'm super excited to get back to that valve cover and show you how to like make it look like new again. So I just sent the flywheel off to be machined, and I'm tackling another job that we've needed to do. And you can see, wow, I was a little bit worried that getting the engine mounts out of this car would be tricky, but as you can see, you just put either a jack stand or in our case here on a hoist, we have this stand, and you just raise the engine up, and that popped out quite well. And you can see this engine mount is cracking here. And I originally saw that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to replace it. And here is the brand new Corteco from FCP Euro. And you can see it is slightly different design. So I'm willing to bet these have not been replaced. It's certainly a worthy thing to do because with engine mounts, with these cars especially, you get like clunks or slop in the drivetrain, and this is such a quick and inexpensive fix. So check out the passenger side engine mount here. It's a good thing I decided to do it. Look at that, crazy. And it didn't even look that bad until I pulled it out, and you can see it just broke in two. So this car is not a high mileage car. It's got 167,000 kilometers, so around 100,000 miles. So, you know, it's just an age thing. So whether you've got a car that's got a ton of mileage or it's an older car, it's certainly worth looking at doing the engine mounts. So as you can see, our valve cover is now dry, and the quest to take off the paint smoothly without making any errors along here and expose this BMW M-Power and these grills, it's gonna be a tough one. I've looked at a bunch of options, but I think this is the way to go. This is an air sander from Jegs. You can see it's got a tiny little belt, which will be good for the precision work that I think we need to do here like this, and I can really control it and modulate it. So let's just see what happens here. So I am gonna be ditching using this tool, and that is only because the grit of sandpaper I have is just too rough. And what it's doing is it's just too aggressive. So if I don't have it completely flat, it'll create an area that's just being sanded down too quickly. So what I'm gonna turn to is a aggressive pad like this, which is like almost a polishing / sanding pad on the Milwaukee cordless. And you can see with this guy here, it does work way, way better. It just takes a lot more time, but it does a good job of polishing it too. So you can see it's kind of burning it off, but it is leaving a nice polished finish. Ideally what I would have is like, you know, a 300 grit on that machine that you could just take it off and then come in with this and polish it up. So this is gonna take a little bit of time, but I think we're gonna have a nice finish here. And there you have it. I did go through several stages, as you guys saw, with the like flapper wheel. I went to a rougher one to really just get all the paint off. Then I went to a smoother one, and then finally finished it off with a 400 grit sanding block. And it's honestly, it looks really, really good. There's like small little imperfections where the lettering, like in this area here, where it just like kind of noses over, so it wasn't completely flat and I couldn't get it in there. And the whole key here is I want to do one stroke this way. I don't ever want to, you know, try to stroke it that way because it does kind of change the lines of it. But let's bolt this thing up and then we can see what it looks like on the car. We do, of course, have brand new gaskets sourced from FCP Euro, like I've been getting all of my quality BMW parts from. That looks, I think, a million times better than it did.
Oh yeah, night and day, man. It looked very old and
and just had this. So here's the one thing I did learn. See all this yellow staining here? It's all over the place. It was on the valve cover as well. This is Cosmo line, and it was like a protective coating that they used against rust or something like that from the factory. And as you can see, as it ages, it yellows out. I just don't think I'm gonna be able to do anything with this. This either requires dry ice blasting or vapor honing, which would mean we would have to take all of this apart, and that is just not in the scope of this build. So it's gonna be an eyesore, but I still think this engine bay is gonna look way, way better. Well, doesn't that look so much better than it did freshly resurfaced at the machine shop? And what we are going to be installing is a spec stage 1 clutch. So the stage 1 clutch is the most street friendly clutch from spec. It is rated just slightly higher than stock, but it still offers excellent drivability. And really that, for me, the street performance is what I want. I don't want any chattering or any you know, like aggressive grip, and this is a fully organic face, so it's gonna work well. But what it isn't gonna do is it isn't gonna hold here, DP. Oh, maybe it will, maybe it will. Yeah. We're gonna leave it like that, and then we're gonna get the,
you think, or?
What's that?
Is that the pilot bearing acting up?
I don't know, who knows? Now it's time to slap this on here, and let's get this all bolted in here before it all falls apart.
Should mention we did put in a new pilot bearing too.
We did, yes. We did put in a new pilot bearing. We did clean all the surfaces, so we're ready to go here. And everything now is tightened up, torqued to spec, so we are ready for the gearbox. Before we throw this gearbox back into the car, I wanted to service the shift mechanism here. That is because it is one of the things that I found to be the worst in this car. It was super sloppy. You can see there's just a ton of play in it. And that comes from, again, worn BMW parts. Thankfully, FCP Euro has this full shift bushing kit, that I think that's what they call it. But you can see it comes with everything that I'm gonna need to replace here and get this thing back to working as good as new. As you guys just saw, there were a ton of worn out parts, specifically this bushing here. You saw it's got this like little foam pad in it, this selector rod. And now with everything in place, wow, it's remarkable. Like, look how much tighter it feels already. It's so good. It's gonna be so much nicer. So this is certainly another worthwhile thing to do while you're in here, right? If you're dropping the gearbox, you might as well do this too.
Get close. Get
close here.
Well, it's certainly been a journey looking at this weird and wonderful gearbox with the welds and everything else on it. This car certainly has a lot of stories to tell, and rather than boring you guys with us struggling to get this bolted back up, I think now is probably the perfect time to cut to story time with the old DP.
Welcome, me hearties, to the tale of Peter's 1991 BMW M5. A machine that's seen great adventures and is thus worthy of a name. From here on, let's call it Hans Franz, because it's here to pump you up. As soon as he was fully assembled and ready to set off into the world, a shocking twist of fate befell him. That's right, me hearties. Mr. and Mrs. Franz put him on a ship, and a few weeks later he found himself on the exotic shores of Canada. Oh, sorry. Didn't turn off my phone there. Oh man, got an alert from eBay actually. Looks like I won an auction here. I did. I won an auction on a JDM EC2 Type R steering wheel, the non-airbag variety. Man, I won one of these steering wheels for, a decade at least. Whew, pumped on that. Wow, what a deal I got on it too. It's just... Sorry, Hans Franz story. Yeah. He drove around Canada for like 31 years. His clutch or his flywheel blew up and destroyed the transmission. He had his driveline repaired while he was on vacation in Florida. The end. That's his story. So, sort of cut it short there, everybody. But man, this steering wheel, I am pumped on this. Woo!
Well, that story certainly didn't go the way I thought it would. But getting back to the gearbox here, I'm just tightening up the last bolt, and man, another install that has gone so easily, so well. This gearbox has, I think, been the easiest in-out that I have ever done. Yes, believe it, on a BMW. Normally when I'm ordering parts, I always forget to order something. This time around, I made the right call and ordered up a brand new Driveshaft from Dorman, and boy, oh boy, did I make the right call, because this is the one that came out of the car. And listen to it. It is like fully shot in this joint back here, like ton of play. But like I said, more so this noise here, you can hear it's just bad. This is the Dorman one, nothing, you can see. So the Dorman units are actually brand new. They're not remanufactured. So all the yokes are serviceable. It's a brand new carrier bearing. These are fully balanced as well, which is a very, very nice thing. If I had to take this in, this would be at my local Driveshaft shop. This would be like 3 weeks to get fixed probably with the current wait times. And then they would have to like rebalance it and just cost a bunch of money in downtime. So I'm super glad I did order this thing, which by the way, is available on eBay. New Driveshaft is in, and I wanted to ask you guys a question. There's, I don't know, some debate online whether this main carrier bearing here in the middle needs to be preloaded or not, whether I should just tighten it up as it sits, or they say move it by 5 mil both sides and then tighten it down. Yep. Like that and like that. Now it's preloaded technically for 5 mil forward. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you guys know that is a thing, or whether it's just folklore and you just tighten it up as is. Holy smokes, everything is back together, and wow, what a difference this intake manifold makes for this engine bay. As you guys can see, Dave cleaned everything up here, so it does look minty fresh. Yes, this area is the problem child, that Cosmoline. Every time I see it, DP,
yeah,
I just don't love it. I really, really don't. Maybe this thing is in need of an ice blast, but I think at this point, are we ready?
I think so, man.
Should we start this thing up?
Fire it up.
I think so, right?
The bearings are still good. Let's turn it on.
All right, here we go.
A minute to fire.
It did. I think it was the fuel pressure.
Oh, okay.
Right? It took a while, but oh man, idle is like rock solid. I don't know if it should come up a bit. It's holding at like 800 RPM perfectly.
Nice. Holy, sounds good. Burn like a kitten.
Damn. Listen to this thing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Wow. Well, I think what we need to do now is we're going to need to let this thing idle for a bit. You can see there's a whole bunch of smoke and everything from all the spraying we've been doing. Let it idle, come up to temperature. We did bleed the coolant system, so I think we might crack the bleeder valve up here just to be sure on it. And then I don't know, we'll just pat each other on the back. Before we wrap this one, I was going to show you guys this new tool that I got called the Digi Sync, and this is for ITB sync. Unfortunately, as you guys can see, it's not working properly. It's jumping around quite a bit here. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. We emailed the company. Hopefully we'll hear back from this, and we'll get back to it in a future episode. But the gist of it is, you hooked it up to your ITBs, and then you adjust these little screws here, adjustment knobs, and then you can sync up your ITBs perfectly. So if this was working correctly, we would be able to do this and just get, you can hear it's off slightly. I feel like it is off just a bit. So one of the ITBs is off here, and this car should run a little bit smoother. So hopefully we can get this fixed and dialed in for the next episode, but we are going to wrap it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. We certainly hope that you guys have been liking this series. It's not done yet. Some of the best stuff is coming up because we are going to hit it up, but we are going to do a full visual treatment on this car in the next episode. So stay tuned for that one.